Welcome to Meta Tripping, y'all. This is a quick divine feminine update. I was gifted the Isis Oracle from a beloved, and so I'm going to be utilizing it today. Now I do identify with Aset, but it has been explained to me that Isis can be looked at as a title. There are different eras in history and different ways of interfacing with her energy, with Aset's energy. So I will be pulling a card, at least one card from the Oracle. There is also the Quantum Root Oracle I'll be working with, and the Sublime Vibes Oracle that is going to be coming out soon. Some of the cards are there on the screen in the video image. And so those are pre-pulled. All right, so we're gonna look into what's going on with the divine feminine. There are some wondrous things going on with the divine masculine from what I have been seeing and experiencing, and there was a whole lot that led up to this. A lot of releasing. There's been tons of really bugged out spiritual attack. You know, there have been, it's come up, different readers have addressed it. I also experienced some of those things. There have been like just weird ritualist nonsensical situations that were taking place in the astral, and the angelics and the strength of the angelics and the wisdom and the genius, higher angelic and lower angelic alike, really made it clear to me that there is nothing to fear, period. And as brave as I tend to be, some of what came up in the spiritual attacks was alarming, but there truly is nothing to fear. This ascension process is meant to be this ushering in of the golden era of heaven on earth, however you want to put it. It takes time. No one's saying it's going to happen overnight, or that everything is going to align in certain ways in the next year or what have you, but it is certainly happening, and we've been given time, although some might look at it as if we haven't been given enough time, and because certain events have been shocking, but we've been giving the time to psychologically catch up so that we're not injured on a psychological level by this process. As long as you're doing the work and you're cleansing out the toxicity and you're seeking self-knowledge, you make it through this, with flying colors, and you activate in the ways that align with who you truly are beyond your human aspects of self, or your human interface, for starseed types who appreciate that terminology. So I guess I'll start off actually with a card from the Isis Oracle to set the overall tone. And yeah, man, on the goddess level, Isis is she's awesome. All right, so there are two cards. I'm being directed of how to deal with them. Binary. All right. At the top of the deck is the abundance of Sothis, stellar blessings of the celestial goddess of abundance. And that will be more apparent in the next few weeks. I'm being guided by the goddess. All right, so we may come back to that. On the earthly physical level, Portal of Light is the card that came up. She glides on wings through time and space is like the subtext of the card. What I'm picking up from this card is that there are very large portals. There is a heavenly energy to them. Pardon me if this is, if my wording or whatever is not, you know what I'm saying, like, extremely articulate right now. It's a little bit late on this end. and the energy it's an emanation of energy that's coming through them. So it's not like I've experienced some of the other energetic transmissions that have been taking place. It's almost like luminary energy, but they're portals. But the energy, I guess, that could pass through them has to be of a certain micro density, if you will. It's, you know, maybe even like finer than air. You know what I'm saying? So this is this is happening so that there can be more of an uplift in terms of, just a moment, there are key individuals whose consciousness kind of sagged or fell a bit in this process, because there was just so much so much nonsense going on, and these are very key figures who respond to a certain level of energy, not the average kind of, you know, I don't even want to say average like in a way where it sounds any type of way that's funny, but they're accustomed to a very higher grade of spiritual energy is the way I'm interpreting what I'm being given. And in order for them to perform their role, and really align with the densities that are kind of being layered, so that everyone can kind of be in a harmonious rhythm, you know, on a mental level from where they're at, because there's so many differing beliefs and that sort of things, or ways with interfacing with various wisdoms and spiritual understandings and what have you. There's not just one way to look at the spiritual path or the truths within it, because the structure of how things are layered is really in a perfect kind of calibration for the times to come. It's important that those who are going to be doing a lot of guiding are able to now come up into like their correct alignments. And so that is a reason for these portals being there. So there's a lot of peaceful energy for those who choose to tune into it. The energy that's coming through those portals, it's unassuming. It's not necessarily a speech-based thing or a clairaudient type of thing. It's not necessarily even there for interaction purposes. It is just an energy that, these are energies that are present to provide that micro density level of, it's like a Syrian level of light, to provide that, you know, on the planet, or have it, you know, available on the planet, just to make things a little more easily unified with so much variation going on, and to stabilize when there was like so much ritual work and the 5G nonsense and all that stuff that was really trying to kind of commandeer the ascension energies and direct folks' attention in various areas for purposes of mind control. But I don't need to get into all that, because, you know, this has come up. People who know it in their gut, know it in their gut, know it in their heart, know it in their heart. And there are other readers who have mentioned it. It is what it is. We know what time it is. If you want to know what time it is, you know what time it is. So that is what's being mentioned here. There could be a lot of dream exploration, a lot of flight taking place in dreams. A lot of communing with ancestors and deceased loved ones can come up, who are super excited that everything is, you know, properly on track. So these are some of the things you can anticipate as just some earthen experiences that might seem out there, but in a really nice, softly miraculous way. On the higher level, the knot of Isis comes up. It's the subtext is energetic stabilization with the buckle of the beloved. There are calibrations between divine feminines and divine masculines at this time, who are choosing to come together at this time to provide the proper amount of, how do I describe this energy? Just give me a moment. Give me a moment with this. It's taking certain positions, assuming certain positions, um, so that, and these can be a little bit not rigid, but some of it may take a bit of discipline. You know what I'm saying? So that others can follow, other divine feminines and divine masculines can follow in those pathways that come from that, for their calibrations. Because a lot of what's happening in this ascension process is, from what I've come to find, is directly related to the harmonizing and the elimination of unnecessary or projected karmas, negative karmas, however you want to look at it, at masculine and feminines in general, and putting a wedge between men and women, and making women feel guilty for being women, all of that. So when divine feminines and divine masculines come together, the power of that is for purposes that are actually for good, not for power mongering or anything like that. And it changes the dynamic of things, because there's a natural magnetic kind of leadership to that, I guess. I don't know if that's the right word. I'm being told it'll do. But leading by example, even leading by example and guiding. I'm being given as a clarifier that puts things back in the right way after so much tampering psychologically from media interests and that sort of thing, who really wanted to mind control men and women of how to see themselves, to have women nitpicking themselves and thinking they had to be a certain size, you know what I'm saying, or do their hair this way or that, and the dude just had to be like up under everybody's skirt, you know what I'm saying, to feel like a man. Like, all of these are falsehoods, like complete nonsense. The self-acceptance just on a gender level, that you don't have to follow any kind of trend. You just have to do you. And how you came down here is how you came down here to represent your sex. And how you interact from a heart level, on a real level, with your lover, with your partner. You know what I'm saying? Like, that is the story archetype you're creating, in which you came to show. And as long as it's heart alignment, especially a heart crown alignment, you've got the energy flow right, you're chilling, and other people are chilling off the strength of, coming into contact with you. So there are more divine feminines and divine masculines. Just a moment. Preparing the way for the next wave of divine feminines and divine masculines who will be coming together. And a lot of them will be creating more foundational structures, rites of passage, and that sort of thing, for the children who will eventually be, of age and, living life, seeking their career paths or whatever, and seeking their partners and to start families. So, all of these things work over time to have a large change on the planet. And a lot of the work that has been done, in the subtle realms, astral realms, on an ethereal level and what have you, all of that has been important to make it possible for some of these more physical, actualized unions that stay working properly to come about, and then so on and so forth. And this affects cultures and societies and all of that. All right, y'all. Just one moment. All right, y'all. I just had to get adjusted here. I have the cards pre-pulled. What I'm going to do for the Sublime Vibes deck, what I'm going to do is pull the Quantum Root Oracle cards that kind of go with them. So the top of the deck is allow yourself to be cared for, receptivity. And I'm getting that's by like your angelics. Angelics to be around you. Sometimes it can come up as a thought in your head if you're not dealing with direct clairaudience or clairvoyance. It can be a thought that pops into your head, a solution, bright idea. When you're looking for solutions to certain problems, especially if those problems seem, old and like there's been no solution in sight, that kind of thing. Like this is when angelics can really come in and make you aware of things that you can do right now to change the pattern so it can't keep running like it used to. All right, so the first card that came up is Enchanted from the Sublime Vibes deck is Enchanted Start. It's the 33rd card in the deck. There is now this infusion of energy for divine feminines that, and this could be the divine feminine aspect within divine masculines as well. There is this heart charged energy of excitement and expanded possibility that's taking place, probably moving towards the Friday. And this is a timeless sort of reading, so this would be anytime you're tuning in, the Friday that's coming from that time. It will probably begin to kick in more so around that time with really like genius ideas, aha moments where you're like, oh, okay, you know what I'm saying? This is perfect. This is what I can do to deal with this situation. Or a benefactor could pop up, you know what I'm saying, who really is serious business, you know what I'm saying, willing to put money behind your idea or whatever it is you're trying to work on, as long as you're willing to be serious and work and show up on time, be punctual, and be honorable where your agreements are concerned. A lot of the benefactors stepping forward now that can help a lot of people are the honorable sort. These are the times we're entering where it's not about dealing with shady businessmen or people who are just trying to get what they can get from you and then get ghosted. It's now, if you can line up and have integrity and you can follow through on what you agree to and you can keep your communications clear on that, you can get the assistance that you're requiring. You can build your dreams, where they literally are manifesting for you without the trouble or the scarcity that just seem to pervade situations before, when people are trying, really working hard to reach their goals, and we're just dealing with sabotage by petty, kind of petty, greedy sorts. Let's see what else I'm picking up from this card. A lot of these suppressed exuberance and excitement energy that was starting with the ascension process, and even back 10 years ago, it's now realizing like, yo, it's here. Like, it's here, it's happening, despite all the sabotage attempts and the nonsense and the attempts at mind control and trying to control society. We're now at a point where the type of power that is here doesn't bend or bow to that sort of thing. And the people who walk in those paths are the same sorts of heroes or herus, if you will, the same sorts of freedom fighters, divine warriors who don't bow to evil. You know what I'm saying? Or the ills of Eve, if you will. No disrespect to Eve, but the ills, the ills that come of a certain mindset, if you will. With this energy, it's a good idea to not just squander it away, engage it. It's creative. So work with that creativity energy and like trust the process, have fun with it, really get into alignment with your inner child. The possibilities are literally endless. The Quantum Root Oracle card that comes up, because the Sublime Vibes is dealing with the vibrations. And, Quantum Root Oracle deals a lot with the thought frequency. So you are greater than your challenges, and victory is the subtext of the card. It's a 90 card. And do what is good for you. Take flight is the subtext of this card, and it's 80 card. So you have like that 17 type of connection just from those numbers coming together. Actually, in Sacred Blooming card, for you are greater than your challenges, victory is the 17th card. What we have here, just a moment. There have been a lot of challenges that have tried to make people feel that something, that something with evil intention, something, someone, group of people, whatever have you, just had so much more power. And there's just this understanding. It's like, it's so paper thin, it's not even funny. It's almost like these, if it's people, it's like, now if they try to come up, with that same nonsense, it's almost like they're like those cardboard, you know what I'm saying, joints that, get propped up or whatever, where it's like an image of a person, but it's, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's just as flimsy. It has no substance to it. And it's almost like dealing with something that was coming at you like it was some kind of a phantom, but now it just doesn't even have the ability to kind of move about in your, play with your consciousness or project itself into your consciousness or mess with your dreams, because, that was some of the stuff that was happening as well. On a few levels, whether it was the dream time or whether it was just messing with people's dreams in life. Like, it was just crazy. You know what I'm saying? Like, the lengths that were gone to really try to put people off of the track that is their birthright, that they're meant to be on, that they actually earned. So those who weren't dealing and trying to earn, and they were just trying to, suck on other people's energy, that's just a sad path. You know what I mean? I'm not even really going to focus on what's going on, with them, but focusing on those who have endured the abuses and continue to keep going and continue to try to make the best of themselves. This is where this victory is coming in. And so it might be like one of those moments where it's like, like, where you don't even know what to do, like, in the face of success, in the face of having overcome this negativity and corruption. But, Spirit is saying, like, get some rest, kind of like take heart, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you did it. You can, breathe easy. Pull out a pen and paper, make a list of the things that you like to do from here. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're free. Your freedom is solidified. It's a matter of time before that becomes so apparent. There will be no denying it. In general, where your mind wouldn't even dare doubt it, because it presented itself as a fact. It manifested solidly. So at this time, this is a time to, like, really align with what motivates you, what makes you go, just a moment. What is it you'd like to do from here? Because the dreams you sent up, that are of a higher frequency, that are also a benefit to the collective, it's granted. So from here, what kind of changes do you want to see in yourself? This can be a time for introspection. You know what I'm saying? A time to take account before moving forward. When you realize you have tons of freedom to be creative, to explore who you are, that can be it can be a really humbling moment where you want to take a little bit of time for quiet and assessment. And there may be some tears and crying and releasing when you realize that a lot of these false time loops have fallen away and failed. So you are really free of them. So now it's, how do you get your mind back in order? And you can work with the color indigo, the third eye color, do some third eye clearing, that kind of thing. Excuse me. Heart work is always the move, and the heart light card did come up. We'll touch on that in a moment. take some time with yourself. You know what I'm saying? You know, just a moment. Take some time with yourself and forgive what's happened before. Um, at least to the level where you can let it go. Because at this point, there's no point in recreating the pains of the past. They've been defeated. And that is all on that. Thank you, Spirit. Do what is good for you. Take flight is the subtext. What I'm picking up with this card, if you find yourself feeling pressures from others who just are, you know, really in a negative place, people pressing on your energy, you know, trying to get something out of you, like, it's very simple. It's a turn the page type of thing. Just change your habits. Just don't be where they're at. You know what I'm saying? Or don't be where they're at for long. I'm picking up like that's the simplest way to deal with this stuff, because there are some people out there now where it doesn't matter, no amount of you trying to explain where you're at and what kind of peace you require at this time is going to change their behavior. You know, some people have not been doing very well mentally in this process because they're not willing to face the truth. So if they can't face the truth, how are they going to clear their pathways? How are they going to clear their psyche of these patterns that have had them in cycles of disempowerment or cycles of being bullies? You know what I'm saying? Which, like, being bullies, I mean, is really a coward. You know what I'm saying? With a, you know, what is that? Man, I can't think of the name of it right now, but you know what I'm saying? Like the megaphone or whatever, right? The bullhorn or whatever. Like, you know, they're just trying to make their voice bigger because they're shook, like they're scared inside. And so the only thing they know how to do is create a falsehood that they hope will scare people off from ever hurting them. And this is not to make fun of anybody. This is just, you know, it's just one of those things that's happened in the course of, you know, the human experience. And some people really got caught up in that because that's where they place their faith, rather than placing their faith, you know what I'm saying, like, you know, in higher sources of consciousness, you know what I'm saying, in home frequency, you know what I mean, the angelic levels, you know what I'm saying, God consciousness. You have those who would rather just, you know, kind of clutch to being you know, guarding their ruins, so to speak, you know, not realizing like, yo, like, what you're guarding is falling apart. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're not guarding anything anymore. It's time to move out of that disempowered space of traumas, and then, you know what I'm saying, like, see what's possible, get some fresh air, you know what I'm saying, get some fresh thoughts circulating. But not everyone is in that space. And so, like, you know, as much as you can have compassion for it, cool. But if you're dealing with types who are abusive, you don't have time for that, I would assume. um, because if you choose to have time for that, then you will be deciding that you're giving permission to those experiences, and at that point you wouldn't be able really to say, oh, these people are victimizing me. You feel me? Like, this is where we're at now. It's really taking that personal power to be a direct creator in your life, a direct co-creator, if you will. All right. And so that's more in the mind placement, and that goes with Enchanted Start. So we are in a very Enchanted Start. There's been a lot of high vibrational energy, high frequency, high thought frequency energy and creation. It's been going on for a while, and that went up to higher levels and created higher density. So we have these higher density spaces, you know what I'm saying, where all of these wishes and dreams and goals and what have you have manifested as people interface with, you know, different if you want to use the word timelines, you know, that, you know what I'm saying, like aligning, you know, with your best pathways. The work has been done and it's solidified. So don't be surprised when all these good things start happening to you. It was going to happen eventually. The thief types, we're going to have to move out the way, because that's not their rewards. You know, they had the opportunity to create their own rewards, and, you know, it's unfortunate if they spent all their time trying to scheme on somebody else's rewards. Silliness. So that's more in the mind placement, psychological placement. The second card that comes up, or that when the pre-pull is Forever Stars Bloom. So, you know, what I'm picking up from this is, as much as miracles can seem new, you know, this has been going on for the longest, you know what I'm saying, from the beginning of time. And we're becoming acquainted with some of the original ways, you know, some of the original ways that our thoughts manifest into, you know, physicality, or, you know, densities that are, you know, some kind of, you know, likening to what we would call physical. So there will be different revelations and things coming about that might have some holy people, you know, religious folk or whatever, like scratching their heads, you know, until they remember that, oh, there are passages, you know, in whatever their sacred book is for whatever religion, you know, or school of thought they deal with. There are passages about this, and it's happening because I think what it is there was so much that tried to shake up the world and shake up people's faith, and have them fear death on a daily basis, you know, just in a totally unnatural and contrived way. And now we're coming to the reality here that there's life after death. So what is there to fear? I mean, there's literally life after death. I have conversations with the deceased on a daily basis. And yo, they be chilling over there. You know what I'm saying? Like there's food there. You understand what I'm saying? Like, it's just another, you could look at it as just another plane of existence, just another door you walk through. We die every night when we go to sleep, and we wake up. You understand what I'm saying? At a different calibration, maybe with slight tweaks or what have you. It just all depends on what interface you are committing to being a part of at any given time, is my understanding of it. And Spirit is saying that's correct. So what this card is giving me is some of these miracles are going to be so heartening, especially for those who have lost people, you know, who have loved ones who cross over to the other side, in realizing that there's a lot less to fear than Hollywood and media would have us believe. And, you know, in ancient times and in older times, you know, these things were understood a lot better than they've been, you know, in you know, contemporary times. So a lot of these understandings and understandings are coming back to the point where, you know, it may take some time, but I'm feeling eventually it'll become commonplace enough that there may be some people uncomfortable with it who just don't want to believe it, but there would be an innate knowing for everybody that that's just the way it is. So the way that we look at life and death and afterlife and all of that, you know, it's in the process of changing. It's in the process of changing in very big ways that are going to affect global society. You know, and, you know, the evolutionary processes, you know, to come, you know what I'm saying? So the cards that came up in conjunction with this, oh, and there's a lot of Dreamtime experiences Spirit is giving me that will be preparing people for that. A lot of deceased loved ones will be reaching out. Ancestors, but some of the ancestors that are more closely, who have walked the earth more so recently, people you've known before they passed on. There will be a lot of interaction with them coming up, with advice from them, and they'll be trying to help prepare you for some of the things to come. There's going to be there are going to be some miraculous things taking place, y'all. There already have been, but get ready. Get ready. It's happening. So, you know, your loved ones will be helping you with that. All right. So on a body level, the cards that came up, body level, material level, that sort of thing, manifest world level, on a kind of the more earthen physical level, you are worthy. It's 1D, it's a 1D card, and follow divine guidance is coming up. So some of you are going to be having the chosen one experiences, and you know how I feel about that saying. But some of y'all are gonna be having those experiences where you're realizing, no, you're not just plain Jane who goes to work every day, or the average Joe who goes to work every day, and you have a whole divine destiny. And if it's your time to be activated, it's your time to be activated. So, angelic visitations, ancestral guidance and remembrances to people who wouldn't even expect it. These things will be happening. On the on the what would be the higher self level, more of the angelic level. Over that, you are capable. Fortitude. It's an 8D card, sacred blooming card. And sacred seed is where the you are worthy card is for those who will be having those chosen one moments. Awakenings or whatever have you. The on the angelic level, for those who've been doing the work, there's gonna be a lot of confirmation, a lot of accelerations or upgrading to the next level. You know what I'm saying, of angelic work. Signing on to do more angelic work. Some of this involves children. A lot of rehabilitation and healing and shamanic work to clear a lot of children of really a lot of psychological abuses, to put it mildly, and ritual abuses, Spirit is saying. So this, people who are doing deep work in the astral, it's going to be more mid-level work because all of the children have been covered, basically, is the best way to put it. They're watched over and they're guided. But they will. We all have to clean out when we've had things put in us from the back end, or from whatever little games are being played, by people who thought they were holding certain levels of power, in society or whatever, to try to, get different things in a child's bloodstream or what have you, and then mess with their dreams at night or mess with them in other ways. So there's angelic work that's going to be heavily revolving around getting these children healed, and ready to embrace the destinies they were meant to have. Because some of these children, y'all, like, especially, like, they're like star seeds. They're on some next level stuff, and they were getting spiritually attacked on the regs, and so you have all these different ideas of different conditions children supposedly had, and it's like, you don't even know what was not saying you don't even know, like, at all, but it's like, what was really happening was sabotage, sabotage and mind control attempts, to really break a child down before they had the ability to really develop their identity, so that there would be psychological kind of like puppet strings. And this was done with my generation, absolutely, the generation before that, you know what I'm saying, and so on and so forth, you know what I'm saying. It is what it is. But now, like, it's no mo. It's no mo of that. So some of the other angelic work that will be taking place, it's going to be a lot of helping with women who are coming into a sacred mother level of I'm what I call it, natural shamanic work. Yeah, so natural shamanic work, because it's very natural to women to be processing energy and that sort of thing, or those who are who have a lot of divine feminine energy, because you're going to have some men who are inclined towards that. So there is a lot of shamanic awakening, you know what I'm saying, that's taking place in people. And they may not necessarily understand. A lot of empaths know this life, but it's where you're helping to process some of the energy out that people who just are not in a place for that, and just were not necessarily built for that, as they're cleaning themselves out and they're addressing certain traumas and issues, and they're seeking to heal and live a better life. That energy has to be processed and transmuted. And some of it has to be, given to the earth, returned to the earth, that sort of thing. And there are those people who are out there that are just built, to do it, and came here to do it. So there's a lot of awakenings going on, and you are capable. Is to remind you that there are people who know how to do this. There are angelics around you. You can always call for help. They're always around. You know what I'm saying? You go into your meditation, you can call for help. You can get through this. Fortitude is the subtext of this card. You have the wherewithal. And a lot of the activations that have been taking place through this ascension process have been there to make sure that you would be ready for this, so we can get a lot of this toxicity out of the way, and really, get into the business of living, which is what life is intended for. And that is not what folk have been doing. People have been forced to survive when it's absolutely unnecessary, because food grows free and just about everything that you need grows. You know what I'm saying? And can be utilized, including the clothes on your back came from a plant. You understand what I'm saying? So it is what it is. We're coming back to like just the basic, like just basic, you know, math equations, you know what I'm saying, of how to get past these you know, control mongerers. Um because it's absolute nonsense to be in the grip of something that has no true desire um to aid you in your well-being. Um on a soul lesson level, your heart is your compass comes up, and that is the card that's associated with from the Sublime Vibes deck is a Sirius card, and it's Blooming Throne, Dreaming Stars. So there is this process that's taking place of, on a soul level, realizing there's so much more for you, but then dealing with some of the discomfort of having to release what you've attached to as kind of your, this is what makes me feel comfortable, you know, whatever you've considered to be your rock, so that you feel grounded. Some of these I don't know, comfort aids or whatever have you are confining, and you're going up in vibration and frequency. You're expanding. So this is a process of trust, but more than that, Blooming Throne is suggesting like you already have the, you're blooming. So you know how to do this the same way a flower knows how to grow out of the earth. So if you allow the process to happen, it's going to be a lot easier. And there's a lot of assistance and people who are going through this who would love to talk about, you know what I'm saying? Um, you know, these different things are going on. And this is a card that is associated with Sirius. So those of you who are of Syrian heritage, you're probably getting a lot of dreams with direct instructions on how to deal with what's taking place, especially if you have heavy Sirius heritage. Let's see what else I'm picking up from this card. Things that are just so hard to let go of. It's like you want to cry, but you can't get the tears out. Breath work is going to be very helpful, is what I'm being told. And you can ask angelics to assist you with, you know, with just some shamanic detoxification, because some of these hard feelings and traumas, you know, became like sludge and muck in the you know, kind of the energy field, and you know, the pathways and whatnot, and may need a little more help to get it flowing out. Okay, just a moment. I had to stop for a moment to handle something real quick. Let's see what else I'm picking up from this card. I mean, there can be some dream time things that are taking place that, you know, are how would I just, like, release streams. Okay, thank you, spirits. Give me, there could be like release streams, so, you know, just have some water by your bed. You could put some amethyst beneath your pillow if you're finding this to be an issue. Um, that can help with the process. There's just a lot of cleaning out that's taking place, and a lot of things that just need to, you know, be let go of. That is the answer. Um, and the energy will be cleansed out. You know what I mean? On on the soul lesson level, your heart is your compass is the card that comes up, and it's a 40 card, and you know what to do is the subtext of this card. And you know, that is the bottom line here. Like, your heart tells you exactly what you need to know if you're willing to listen to it, and it's even louder and more resounding nowadays, I think, for most people. That's how I see it. The spirit is saying it's correct. You know, some people are listening to their heart more than others, but the heart is not so easy to ignore now for anyone, is what spirit is saying. So if you're looking for guidance, your heart is going to give you that guidance. It's going to let you know. You know, there are angelics and ancestral, you know, ancestral guidance that, you know, are coming through. And sometimes if you're not ready to hear what's being said, or it's all too much for you and you're like, can I schedule this activation for next year or something? Like, go into your heart and just realize that you do have, control. I don't know about using that word, in this process. And if you have angelics coming to you and you have guides coming to you, it's it's because you called it at some point, you wanted it at some point. But if it's a bit too much for you, you can either ask for help in how do I work with this in a spiritual way while also managing my 9 to 5 or whatever it is that you do, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's on a practical kind of earth level. And you can get that guidance so you don't feel overwhelmed. Um, and you can tell by who you're engaging with, if it's all about communication in any type of connection or relationship. If you're like, hey, yo, like, do I have to meditate tonight? Because, like, is there another way I can do this? Because I just don't feel like I can go there. The fact that you're communicating that now, whatever ancestor you're working with or angelic can say, well, you know what? There is another way, actually. And maybe you have to change your practices up a little bit. It's you work with spirit. You know what I'm saying? You work with your guides, you work with your ancestors, they work with you. Um, but it is important to take some ownership of yourself in the process of what it is you'd like to do. Keep a certain amount of focus of what you're trying to achieve. Um, and be aware of, kind of like, wow, that feels like a limit. What's that right there? Or why do I suddenly feel like overwhelmed? Or what's that right there? Did another trauma get triggered? Well, how do I deal with that? Like, the more that you interact with the processes, the more information you can receive. And if there's a time you're like, I just can't, I need a month, I need 2 months, I need to ground myself, then you can communicate that, and spirit can work with you on that. So this is how we become more clear on the co-creation process, how to work with it. You know what I'm saying? So that we can activate in a level where we're not too overwhelmed. Believe you me, spirit will find a way to make sure you're not too intensely impacted or overwhelmed. You know what I'm saying? If you say, hey, listen, you know what, I got this project coming up and I really feel like I need to be focusing on that. Is there a way that you can help me align my energies for the next 5 weeks so that I can, kind of not be so out there and I could be more focused on this? Or if you're like, hey, yo, I'm bored and not much is happening, I've been meditating, can you kind of, is this a time where I can maybe activate a little more? This is where you work with the process. And you know what I'm saying? Ask it, you shall receive, so to speak, but do so with guidance and know what it is that you're walking into or what you're asking for, because you also have to be careful what you're asking for. You understand what I'm saying? Um, so on the higher level of that, of the soul lesson, and this is more like high angelic work and just interfaces with God on certain levels, whether it's um just a vibe or a feeling, but it's God speaking to you. There's a lot of heart illumination taking place. This can show up as really bright, brighter light in the aura. And this is on the strength of all the hard work that's been done, and the fact that we are calibrating to a higher level where people will just be able to, kind of walk by people, or say peace to someone, and there's a high frequency kind of just well-being, healing energy, so to speak, that is shared in that moment. And there are going to be people walking around doing this where they don't have to go through, they don't have to do Reiki for you or whatever. Like, they've done so much work. This is the effect that their energy has. And they're going to be walking around here just doing what it do. You know what I'm saying? And it could be, like, for those who watch The Matrix, the Oracle was, she was chilling. You know what I'm saying? Like, these could be everyday regular people, with vernacular. You know what I'm saying? That they talk how they talk. They live how they live. You know what I'm saying? But they've done the work, and it shows. It's in their aura, and just on resonance, you know what I'm saying, and them crossing your path, they may have the energy you need that day, and some of that energy kind of comes off of, comes off of them, emanates or wafts off of them, and you get charged and activated and inspired. And there are gonna be a lot of people like this, is what spirit is saying. A lot of people. at that calibration more and more as time moves forward. Just not just this year, just moving forward. This is how it's going to be. So there's going to be a lot of healing going on the planet, y'all. A lot of healing. So there isn't too much to have to be worried about. So divine feminines, in processing all this energy, you can finally enjoy some of the burdens being taken off of your back. Okay? Because a lot of this, with all due respect, there's definitely been divine masculines doing work, but a lot of this has been on divine feminines. And, sacred mothers have been doing a lot of work. And now there is going to be that very clear and evident support. And for those in divine feminine and divine masculine union situations, there is a divine union message deck that will also be released. And this is one of the cards from it that was pre-pulled. So this is the divine masculine's message to the divine feminine. It's romantical. If y'all ain't here for it, and you can click off now. Peace be upon you, and peace and blessings on your ascension journey. And thank you for tuning in. But this message is, without you, there is no forever. You defy limitation. You exceed expectation. How do I measure a light too bright to filter through a lens distorted by my fading illusions of never? How do I capture forever? How do I make it stay? What kind of games can I play where I'm always the winner and you are the prize? You are always the prize, waiting with forever in your eyes. So there's that romantical bit, but it's very deep and heartfelt, and it speaks to the heart of the divine masculines right now who are beyond ready for union with their divine feminines. And for those who don't necessarily vocalize it, Spirit is saying this is how they feel. And they've been dealing with different brushes with, a kind of, simulated despair that's been placed on them. And they just can no longer pretend that they don't feel the way that they do. They have to listen to their heart now. So they're coming into vulnerability, and this can be very disorienting in a society that has socially engineered men to behave and think a certain way, or run the risk of being told they're not a man by other men. So this coming into vulnerability and their own divine feminine aspects, where they engage on an emotional level because they are parched and they need water. This is what is happening, y'all. All right, y'all. Thank you so much for tuning in, and peace and blessings on your ascension journey.